Over the course of a century, a few have succeeded in socially conditioning the masses to believe that they must volunteer to pay taxes far beyond the specified limits established by the Constitution and the law. Today, an abundance of misinformation encourages waiving individual rights, and standard tax preparation practices enforce volunteering to pay. The shrewd individual exercises the rights and privileges afforded by the Constitution and the law, while also observing both the requirements of the law and the standards of practice. Say 5 people organize a limited liability company and share equally in the profits and losses of the organization. And say the LLC generates $1 million in gross revenues and $250,000 in net profit. Standard income tax preparation practices would result in the generation of a $50,000 Schedule K-1 for each member of the LLC, who would each then pay a calculated amount of tax due on the $50,000, adjusted by any other income, losses, adjustments, deductions, and exemptions. However, thanks to constitutional provisions and invitations from all 3 branches of the U.S. government, with a little due diligence and minimal cost, it is possible, based on the statutes of all 51 state and federal governments, to implement simple, legitimate procedures to exercise all rights and privileges under the law and the Constitution, keep all income earned, or most of it according to personal strategy, enjoy guaranteed risk-free, tax-free growth in the market, and generate, for example, an extra 50 or 100 grand a year or more in tax-free retirement income. Say the members of the LLC want to volunteer to pay taxes on only $50,000 instead of $250,000, so that each member's Schedule K-1 reflects just $10,000 instead of $50,000. Here's how they can begin to implement their plan. After legally organizing the LLC, each LLC member also enrolls in private membership in a private, lawfully income tax-free, audit-proof business organization, and as agent for and in the name of the organization, rents a mailbox and opens a private, levy-proof business bank account with a bank that does not maintain a branch anywhere near the vicinity of the private member's operating location. A radius of 2 hours travel is considered good measure. Then the private member funds the private bank account and spends the funds from that account at will, for any kind of purpose, using the account's debit card, but no checks, to protect the private member's privacy. This is accomplished by executing a contract between the LLC and the private organization, making payments from the LLC pursuant to such contract, recorded as an expense to the LLC, and depositing such payments in the private levy-proof business bank account of the private organization, recorded as revenues to the private organization. Implementing these procedures is an exercise of constitutional rights to privacy, contract, and agency, is appropriately responsive to the U.S. Supreme Court pronouncement that anyone may so arrange his affairs so that his taxes shall be as low as possible, and is in compliance with statutory tax obligations. Maintaining these procedures allows the individual to exercise the IRS published right to pay only the amount of tax legally due. The profits of the private, lawfully income tax-free, audit-proof organization are not taxed, and all expenses of the organization are, accordingly, 100% tax deductible, whether via debit card payment or ATM cash withdrawal, and whether for the benefit of the business or the benefit of the private member who controls the private bank account. Based on constitutional rights, lawful privileges, standards of income tax preparation practice, and the nature of the private organization, there is no actual or reported distribution of profits among the private members. And since the technical nature of every penny that leaves each private levy-proof business bank account is business expense, there is no tax liability for any of the private members based on either the statutes or the standards of practice. In the simplest possible language, The more revenues generated through the private organization, the lower the taxable income and tax cost, and the greater the benefit to each private member.